Welcome to this video demonstrating how to use the randomization website for the BASE trial. The randomization program determines a baby's study number and the arm of the trial that they will enter, and confirms that the baby meets the eligibility criteria for the trial. It is also where a baby's personal identifiable data is entered. Lastly, screening logs should be entered here. The randomization website for BASE is located at the URL on this page, and it should be accessible on most devices and browsers. It will also be possible to access the randomization website via a link on the BASE website at www.mpu.ox.ac.uk/BASE. In this video, I will be using the test randomization website. The main difference between this test version and the live version is the orange banner at the top stating that I'm on the test version. Click Login to start. If you are listed on the delegation log as being able to randomize, you will be given a unique login for MPU systems, which will include the randomization website. You will need to enter this here. This process may be different from other MPU studies you work or have worked on, where you have a site-wide login for the randomization website. Remember that you cannot randomize if you are not listed on the delegation log, so your team should make sure that everyone who might need to randomize a baby is listed there, and that as many people as possible are delegated to randomize. I am now going to log in as a test user by entering the login details and clicking Login. Once you have logged in, you will see the main page. If you are linked to more than one recruiting site for the trial, you can switch between sites at the top right of the page here. Make sure that you have selected the correct site for the baby that you want to randomize. The first menu option is to enter a baby into the study, and clicking here will take you to the form to complete in order to randomize a baby. I will now enter some sample data for an eligible participant. If the baby is one of a multiple pregnancy and a sibling has already been recruited into the trial, you will need to give the study number of that sibling when randomizing the baby in this field here. This is so that we can link siblings correctly in our systems. I will then confirm that the baby meets the inclusion and exclusion criteria for the trial. You will see that one of the criteria asks if verbal consent for the baby to participate has been documented in their medical notes. This means that the documentation of verbal consent form recording the parent's verbal consent has been filled out and added to the baby's medical notes. Make sure that this has been done before you randomize the baby. After you have randomized the baby, remember to add the documentation of verbal consent form to the electronic investigator site file as well. Note that I have deliberately answered yes to one of the exclusion criteria here. Once all the questions have been completed, including adding in your surname, forename, and email, then you can click the Continue button below. You will see that the system will not let me continue because the baby is not eligible. Let's assume that in this case, the baby I'm randomizing is eligible, and I need to correct this answer to no. If I then click Continue here, this will now take me to a summary page where I can review the data that I've just entered. You can choose Complete, Amend, or Cancel at the top of the page. If I click Amend, that takes me back to the previous screen, and I can edit any of the data that I already entered. I can then click Continue to return to the summary page. If I click Cancel, that would take me back to the home page, clearing the form and not randomizing the baby. However, I'm going to go ahead and click Complete in order to randomize this baby to the BASE trial. After the baby has been successfully randomized, you will see this screen, which shows the study number and the allocation that has been assigned to the baby. This shows you that the baby has been successfully entered into the trial. There is also a print button on this page, which you can click in order to generate a PDF of the data that you entered, like so. Lastly, there is the Enter Contact Details button, which will be used to enter some personal identifiable data for the baby on a web form. This web form should be completed as soon as possible, ideally immediately after randomization. You will see this web form later in the video. Let's now return to the home page. You can see that the baby just randomised is now included in this list at the top of the home page. Now let's enter data for another baby. You can see that I have just entered the same date and time of birth and the same gestational age as I did for the baby I previously randomised. If I now go ahead and try to randomise this baby, the system raises a warning that I might be randomising the same baby again. If you get this warning, please check that the baby has not already been randomised and that the details you have entered are correct before proceeding. The randomisation site sends the data you have inputted to the Openclinica data system. You can see here that the system has created the baby's record on Openclinica. You do not need to do this manually. The system has also copied the information you entered at randomisation to sections 1 and 2 of the entry form, as can be seen here. Once you have randomised the baby, please complete section 3 of the entry form, which asks for further baseline data. That concludes the demonstration of how to randomise a baby. Let's return to the home page of the randomisation site. You can see that there are some other menu items here. The recruitment list option will show you a list of all babies from your centre that have been randomised to the trial. From this page, you can generate the PDF of the details you entered at randomisation for any of the babies by clicking the print button here. You can also access the contact details web form by clicking the Enter/Edit button if you need to add or update personal identifiable data for any of the babies or their parents. If you need to correct or update any of this sort of information, editing this contact details form is the best way to send it to us. I will now enter some personal identifiable data for the infant and their mother. You can see that this form also asks for the baby's GP and for the names of any hospitals to which they might be admitted for continuing care. For both fields, start typing to bring up a list of options, for instance, like so. Lastly, the form asks about language spoken at home and whether there are any factors such as a language barrier or accessibility requirement that we might need to know about when we send the 2-year follow-up questionnaire to the parent. Please keep these in mind and do let us know if any are relevant for this infant and their family. When you've entered the data, you can click Save. You will see that missing data is flagged with orange, but if you don't have that data to hand, you can click the Save Data Despite Warnings button and click Save again. On the randomisation site, you can also access the screening log from the homepage. This is expected to be completed monthly and is a log of all babies at your hospital born or expected to be born between 23+0 and 30+6 weeks plus days of gestation inclusive. Babies should be added to this screening log when they are randomised to base or confirmed to be permanently ineligible. Randomised babies are automatically added to the screening log with their study number, as you can see here. You do not need to add these babies manually. Otherwise, click on Add New Baby to the Screening Log from the Screening Log page, or use the Add Baby to Screening Log option on the home page to add a baby to the log. Please note that you should not include any personal identifiers such as name or NHS number here. Please give the main reason why a baby was not randomised and any relevant details. Then click Save to add the baby to the log. As we saw, you can view this page that shows previous entries on the screening log by choosing the screening log option on the home page. That concludes the training video on the BASE randomisation website. Please reach out to the BASE team if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.